So, the Fnaf movie didn't come out too long ago, and I'd say it's a masterpiece. I love the way the story was told, and the visuals are really good, and so are some of the kills. I think the animatronics were well designed too. Also, I really like this part where Bonnie falls off the table fort. It's really funny. I could literally praise this movie for hours on how well the story was, and all the cool characters and animatronics, and the story too. However, a YouTuber by the name of Vailskibum 94 doesn't really have the exact same opinion on the Fnaf movie. And yes, I called him by his old name. I already watched the video, and today I'm going to be giving my opinions on the video and why I personally disagree with Vailskibum. Also, please do not send any hate or harassment to Vailskibum, as he did nothing wrong. He's just giving his opinions on the movie. With that being said, let's begin.
We're in the middle of a beautiful video game renaissance on the big screen. So could Five Nights at Freddy's follow in the same footsteps as something like the Super Mario Bros. Movie? No.
So right at the beginning of the video, he makes a small comparison between the Fnaf movie and the Super Mario Bros. Movie. Now, I know they're both video games, but the genre is completely different. You see, the Fnaf movie is sort of a horror movie, but more of a thriller type of movie. While the Mario movie is more of a fantasy and adventure type of movie. And not to mention the fact that the Mario movie is animated and the Fnaf movie is live action. I think it would be much better to, compare other thriller movies.
Yikes, number one. Too much exposition. There's a ton of story in this thing, which isn't bad, but it's how that story is told that rubs me the wrong way. For example, we watch the same scene with a group of kids at least 5 times over the course of the movie. Little to no details are added each time.
This is probably the best point he's made throughout the entire video. The only thing I disagree with is the part where he said that little to no details are added each time. I really like the way the story was told and how each dream was different from the last, adding a little more detail to unfold the story, and sometimes large things in order to help us understand it better.
Meanwhile, massive plot points are explained through dialogue. Five Nights at Freddy's had a tendency to tell, not show. If there's a big reveal you're hyped to find out about, chances are the characters will spell it out instead of us getting clever visual clues.
Well, Fnaf has always been explained through visual clues. It's basically the reason why the Fnaf lore is so confusing in the first place. Having it flat out explained to us is a very good thing to do, especially with all the confusing stuff that's happened in the series lore.
Yikes, number 2, the day scenes. Five Nights at Freddy's has 2 major scene categories, day and night. The day is slower, meant for developing characters into their relationships, which would be cool if any of their stories actually paid off. Like, there's this whole thing about Mike losing custody of his sister, where his snarky aunts can take her instead. Spoiler alert, there's no real resolution. That plot ends with all the bad guys getting killed. On a surface level, sure, it's fun to watch, but it's also not a satisfying payoff to the setup throughout the movie. In that way, it felt like most day scenes were pointless, like they were only there to fill up time.
I don't really think the day scenes are meant to fill up time. I more think of it as like an explanation for the night scenes. For example, the reason why he was having all these weird dreams was because he was taking the pills he was, and that was explained in a day scene.
Yikes, number 3, comedy or horror. Fnaf didn't know what it wanted to be. Not exactly. Sometimes it was a full-on comedy with characters having corny jokes to make light of a dark situation. Sometimes there were violent murders where people got cut in half. Comedy horror can work, but I feel like the way this movie kept changing the tone just made it confusing.
This is probably his worst point by far. Look, movies of all genres can throw in a few jokes here and there. It's not like one genre can just be restricted to one genre.
Is an adaptation of the game, it gets things right. As a movie though, it's just kinda boring. Oh well, maybe the inevitable sequel will be a little better.
I love how when he said the Fnaf movie was boring, he showed the scene where Mike got beat up by Springtrap. But hey, he did praise the Fnaf movie a few times throughout the video, so I'll give him credit for that. But that was it for this video. Bye.